We have a legend in the building. One of the founding members of the Wu-Tang Clan, platinum selling, lyrical genius, crafter of the purple tape. I bought the purple tape about 17 times, man. Every time either somebody stole it or it broke because I played it so much, turning up before them AAU games. Raekwon talking about his new memoir. It's a brilliant book. Highly recommended. From staircase to stage. My man Fly on the cover. How you doing today, brother?
What's up, champ? How you feeling?
I'm good, man. I'm good. You know, the world is slowly starting to open up, and you know, I was wondering, have you really been outside, or you kind of just slow walking it?
Well, shit, I just started going outside, so yeah, I would say probably like the last 2.5, 3 weeks, I've probably just been stepping out a little bit more than average, though. You know, staying in the crib, working out, you know what I mean? Just really, you know, crafting my skill on my next record. And of course, you know, this book right here is something that to me is one of the most powerful pieces I made in a while, you know?
You know, and as an icon, many, you know, favorite rappers, highly influential. And you know, as a writer, I always like to ask other writers, how do you know when you're ready to be vulnerable and to tell your story? Like, what was that moment for you?
Well, you know, at first it was, you know, it was something that I contemplated, you know what I mean? Because I've never been a guy that really just let people into my private life, you know, like that. But being that, you know, we have so much history in the game, and, you know, when I sit here and I think about this young generation, I think it's important that guys such as myself, you know, do things like this, write a book about our stories and our times of being out there in the street, dreaming for this kind of platform, this kind of situation. So, you know, of course, my team, you know, they always, you know, asking me to do other things outside of music. And you know, this book was always one of those topics. It was like, yo, when you ready. And I finally had the nerve to be like, yo, I'm down to do it. You know what I mean? I had a lot of time on my hand too. But the most important thing was to do it and let it be from the heart. You know what I mean? Not something that's fiction or, you know, something that's real, but at the same time, to give these youngsters some hope. You know what I mean? To read my story and say, well, damn, my story ain't so far from his story. So let me check it out. You know what I mean? And see what I can learn from.
Where I was, you know, and I was reading the book, I was thinking, you know, at certain parts, I felt like you were directly speaking to us, like the people who came up on your music. But then another side of me felt like you were opening up this uncoded language to reach a different demographic. Was that the case?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? Just to, you know, kind of like relate to the streets and then show you the business side, you know, like just watching a boy become a man, you know, and dealing with the circumstances and, you know, the opportunities that was presented, the good, the bad, you know, and just really just kind of reflecting, really, you know what I mean? Reflecting on the times where there was good times, you know, like how Big said a long time ago, you know, more money, more problems, you know, and that's something that I know for a fact that we had going on in our circle, you know what I mean? We had good times and then we had trifling times, you know, but the moral of the whole thing is just to describe myself as being a kid who was infatuated by the culture, you know, and then being a part of the culture. You know, Wu-Tang came, we came at a time where, you know, things wasn't the way they are now. You had to work a little harder, you know, the crew was more tighter, you know, then, you know, like I said, as we got on, then you know, then things start to transition, you know what I mean? Egos, money, issues, family issues, you know, things of that nature, being a businessman, you know, putting that hat on, you know, something totally different from being in the streets just a couple of years before that. So, you know, just try to give you a collage of things that was going on in my world.
Man, you really hit it on the head when you said it's different now. I was talking to a veteran actor the other day. He was breaking down how he used to get his roles back in the day. He was like, bro, so you go get the headshot. That's like 6, 7, 800. Then you go get a bunch of them ran off. Then you printing out your resume bio or whatever, and you mailing it to a whole bunch of people that might not even open it. It's like nowadays, I get phone calls. They're like, D, we want you to interview this TikTok star. And I'll be like, damn, bro, I don't even have a TikTok. Like, I don't even know how.
Exactly.
Let me do research and see what's happening. But it's different now, right? What do you think? If you could do it all over again and you were getting into the game in 2020, would you come in as a solo actor? Or would you still come in with the crew?
I mean, it's all about the formula that we was trying to create, though. So I couldn't say we would do it any different from back then to now. But, I was always a team player, so I would have loved to come in with the crew, you know what I mean? Because it was something about having a team back then. If you had a team, y'all was strong, y'all all had the same common cause. You wanted to, represent and see all your brothers win, you know what I mean? Not just one at a time. I remember it was a time in hip hop where it's like, you didn't really see too many groups. You seen a lot of solo artists or maybe one or two cats, but you never really seen actually an army that come in and do something different and show that, it's a possibility that this could become legendary, and we was the forefathers of that whole situation. I mean, don't get me wrong, you had groups out there before us, but not 9 dudes, you know what I mean? It's different when you got 9 niggas. It's like, you may see your normal 2, you know what I mean? Really not no more than that, but for the most part, 9 guys getting busy, sharp, coming from the streets, not hanging out 100% together every day, but we on the same wavelength when it comes to hip hop and turning into something. I thought that was pretty brilliant and definitely, authentic.
No, it was ill. Like it was something that we never seen before.
Exactly.
You start out the book talking about your dad. The one time you saw your father, was that kind of like a difficult section for you to write?
Oh, definitely, because it was almost like while I was, discussing it, I was actually picturing myself being a kid again. And it's fucked up when your parents, shit don't work out, you know what I mean? And, my mom's was young. She had me at 18, 18 to 17, one of those ages. And she was young, and I guess my dad was young too, but he was more of a hustler. I would call him like a Robin Hood nigga in the hood, steal from the rich, give to the poor type of dude from the stories that I heard. But me not knowing him, it really affected me because, to leave a woman to raise a young man is kind of tough, and my mother did what she felt she had to do because he was getting into shit. So, just meeting him one time and then him not really spending no time with me, it's like that should make a tear come out. You know what I mean? Like, damn, and I guess he probably was just too caught up into whatever he was caught up in. Back in the 70s, the niggas was getting high and doing whatever they was doing, but he didn't give me no time at all. And, it bothered me. So, just talking about it a little bit, I could relate to a lot of these kids out here that don't have their father or their mothers in their lives, because now, who becomes their father? The streets.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? The streets. And for me, I always, wanted to have a male figure to talk to and just kind of emulate what they were doing. But at the same token, my mom, she had to work and she left me to be in the streets, be around whatever was outside. So, once you walk out that door and you go out that way, you learn everything according to the streets though. But just not having the pops around, it's like, yeah, when I was writing this shit, it was getting a little touchy for me,
How do them stories and them memories just affect your relationships? Like when you when you decided to start your family and have your own kids, was those memories in the back of your mind, or was it just like, I got
Oh,
to.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I definitely wanted to not be like him and just, abandon my family. But yeah, you learn from these things and you say to yourself, you don't want to be that type of person by any means. You know what I mean? He's not here today anyway for me to represent my father on that level. He died a long time ago. You know what I mean? When I was a kid, I would hear all kinds of stories, but far as today, you know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, I'm a hands-on dad. I never want to leave my kids out there to think for themselves. And, like I said, I feel for these youngsters. So that was the reason why I put it in there too, is because, one thing about my neighborhood, like 85% of us didn't have a father figure. You know what I'm saying? So it was like we all was in the same gang, just trying to make it without that father figure there to be like, yo, what you doing? Or yo, go this way. Or, everything we learned was basically through older dudes in the hood. And, you know, some was even, hustlers, kid high niggas, stick up kids, you know what I mean? But they loved us. They embraced us. They wanted the best for us, but they couldn't show us the best. So, you learn from the streets, and through good and bad, you just pick it up and you carry it with you. But I definitely just wanted to reflect on that because I felt like, these kids, man, they need parental guidance, man. They need guidance. And men can only raise men to be men the way they supposed to be. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that women can't, because my mother's a single parent. She did the best she could. I remember one time my mom used to be like, yo, I'm your mother and your father. She wasn't trying to say she was trying to be a man, but that wasn't a thing. But she was saying, yo, at the end of the day, if that's the role I gotta play, I gotta play it. So it was just me really just trying to dive into things that I felt were, were serious situations coming up in the hood, especially in the Black communities that we lived in, the ghettos for real.
Yeah, people look at me like I'm crazy when I say that. Like, yo, like you need both. There's a nurturing energy that mothers have, and then there's like a
A
different, like
discipline.
a type of like a bravado you get from your pops. Like you need.
Right.
I don't think there's nothing wrong with accepting both of them energies. Like we.
Or discipline, he would know how to discipline you better, and your moms would nurture you, It's, they both play almost the same role, but at the same time, it's discipline. You know what I mean? Your dad could always discipline you, whether he put his hands on you if he had to, you know what I mean, straighten your ass out, or he may just give you something that you could say that you experienced based on his experiences. Whether it could be anything, yo, wanting to be an athlete or taking the wrong road, and he's telling you, yo, listen, this shit is gonna be real for you. You know what I mean? You could do it. You want to go for it, go for it. You know what I mean? Just giving you the realness of what it is. And unfortunately, I didn't have that. I didn't have a father figure to really guide me. So I made a lot of mistakes. And do I regret them today? No. It was just a learning process, but you always want your dad to be there, man. You know what I mean? So shout out to all the guys out there that's great fathers and looking out for their seeds, and especially the young men.
I don't want to give too much away in the book because I really want people to buy and support this book. You one of our heroes, one of the heroes of our culture. But when I was reading it, I was thinking about, Park Hill made me think about my experience just coming up in East Baltimore, Knuckles and Concrete. It just, it gave me that feeling, and it let me know that kind of like what songs like Cream did for a lot of us in the streets when we was kids, and let us know, like, yo, these guys always, 3.5 hours away, and they going through some of the same things.
Right, exactly.
Tell our viewers and our readers just a glimpse of Park Hill in the days when you were coming up.
Oh, yo, Park Hill was like, it was a beautiful place, but it was also a dangerous place. You know what I mean? It was to the point where you know, you had a lot of, experienced hustlers out there that was specializing in thieving and robbing and, even murders and all that was happening. A lot of drugs, dudes were selling drugs. And, at the same time, you had the smaller population of people trying to make it the best way they knew how. You know what I mean? Park Hill was almost like a melting pot hood where you had the Puerto Ricans staying with the Puerto Rican areas. They stay in these sections. Then you had the Africans, then you have the West Indians that was hustling. Then you had the Dominicans, or everybody was just into their own world, but we all lived in this 8-mile radius place where in the daytime it's so pretty, but at nighttime, once the lights go out, you gotta be careful. And of course, we knew a lot of the older brothers, and they would try to keep us away from shit. And you know how it is, the more you try to hide things from us, is the more we're gonna wanna explore and see what the hell you hiding, you know what I mean?
Right.
But other than that, you know what I mean? You have beautiful ladies, grandmothers in the neighborhood, and, people that really cared about us. Get out of there. What are you doing, boy? You better get your ass up out of there. You know what I mean? Like shit like that. But for the most part, it was definitely a dangerous spot.
Tell us about the first day when you knew your life would be different forever.
The first day I knew my life would be different forever is when I know that we had an opportunity to become rap artists. That was, to me, I tell people all the time, this is my first job besides summer youth. You know what I mean? You know how you go to summer youth and next thing you know, they got you doing janitor shit. You a janitor.
Right.
But once this rap situation took off, that's when I realized that, this is the job that I always wanted, and I would never allow myself to go backwards. You know what I mean? So I took this craft and took it to the next level.
Absolutely.
Only because I knew that this was a job. This was something that would be able to help me and my family survive, and I would be able to take care of my mother and plant some seeds for my siblings, and one day have a family and be able to take care of them. So yeah, this job really was important to me, you know what I mean? But it was a fun job. It was something that I love. Like, who don't love hip hop, especially coming up in the communities where, block parties, DJs, excitement, speakers, listening to rap, learning about lifestyle shit, clothing, gear, you know what I mean? Just having fun. So, you know what I mean? When there was opportunity to do it, I'm like, I'm gonna do it to the best of my ability.
Yo, what is the scene like when you write music? Like, I envision you having like a big gold cup with some type of $500 wine spilling out in a silk robe with like a do-rag that's with diamonds on it or something, man, like up and sitting in the throne or something like that.
Right. Nah, I mean, it was always from the basic, man. Like, just first of all, you gotta have your skill together. Then, second of all, you would paint your picture with whatever clothes you want to wear or whatever. But we always was into clothes because, like I said, the older dudes, they were hanging out a lot back then. And, the places they was going, we couldn't go. We would watch what they were wearing and how their energy was. And then they would come back and tell us stories about how they had to represent their neighborhood because other neighborhoods was representing theirs. And, these was interesting stories to us. So eventually we would wind up, traveling down that same path and really trying to find ourselves the best way we know how. But for the most part, it was just, that thought of being able to get up. Yo, you hear about what's going on at this party in Queens. It's like, yo, we all saving our money to go to Queens, to get on the train and experience that, or go downtown Brooklyn and go do a little bit of shopping, go buy some sneakers. And, all that to me was fun, but hip hop was always in the mix, you know what I mean? Because places you go, you'd be seeing niggas walking down the block with their radios and, that was back then, when the cat was carrying a radio and, his cassette tape deck was booming. And, to me, that was just the fun times. It was like, we loved that moment. And we used to always hang out like 40 deep, 30 deep. We all go out. We all make it one big thing. So jumping the turnstiles, you know what I mean? Getting on the ferry, smoking our first joints, listening to rap though, listening to hip hop, just really embracing it like it was designed for us.
Absolutely. I was somebody the other day, I was like, yo, a lot of people talking about the show, this, a lot of people watching the show, but I was like, yo, the show is the tip of the iceberg. This book, this is everything. Like, you only, like, the show is kind of like a commercial, in comparison to the amount of things you put in this book. So I really feel like people want to know, is there a Raekwon movie in production right now? We got a show coming.
Well, when I was writing this, I already envisioned that, eventually somebody may want to change this into a series or something, you know what I mean, based on how real it was. Because when you sit there and you look at the Hulu series, it's like the Hulu series, the way I can describe that is like, it's like drinking, it's like going to the bar and ordering the finest whiskey, but then you got mad ice in all that whiskey. You know what I mean? It's still good, but it's so iced out that, you know what I mean? It's like, damn, you ain't really getting what you want because it's so much ice in it. So, this was, Hulu series was curated through RZA. He wanted to reach a younger audience in the way he wanted to. Meanwhile, when I sit here and I think about how we really grew up, it's almost like looking at West Side Story. You know what I mean? But when you read my book, it's more like reading Goodfellas. You feel me? It's two different worlds, but the same thing in its own way, but different still according to what really, really took place. You know what I mean? Like I went a little bit more in depth with things that I felt, were realistic, that I would have wanted to be in the series, but it might have just been a little bit too hard or too grimy or too much. So like I said, I'm happy people love it. You know what I mean? The Hulu series, they doing a good job on it, but it was still a little bit far from what the real shit was. So I wanted to express it a little bit more from my side in my book.
That's why I think this book is so important. And I just show everybody the cover. But I also feel like when you making music, you got a producer, you're in the studio, you got the engineer, you got the ability to use this coded language that everybody doesn't really have, everybody can't tap into. But with a book, it's just you, the page, and the editor. And everything must be super clear for people who have no understanding of what that world is. So my question is, what is more difficult?
What's more difficult as far as like, what you mean?
A book or an album?
I mean, the albums is always a little bit more difficult because there's so many channels to making an album. Like, it's one thing to get up and keep rhyming and rapping and doing what you do, but then to make an album that's cohesive and beats, you know what I mean? It's totally different from you just sitting down with a with a writer with you and just giving them shit to talk about, you know what I mean? So I would definitely say, the music side is definitely more deeper. This is, to me, is more therapy, more therapeutic writing, you know what I mean? Because now I get to have my emotional times where shit that I remembered, it's like, oh shit, damn, we made it out of that though, you know what I mean? We made it out of sniffing cocaine and smoking dust blunts and running around and, you know what I mean, doing crazy shit, and made it out of there. Because I tell people all the time, we could have been dead years ago, bro. You know what I mean? The shit that we was around and what we was dealing with or whatever is like, could have been out here right now. So
No, so basically, I stay in my lane. I keep writing books. I'm gonna try to go in the studio. You ever hear? You ever hear?
You don't want to be in the studio like that. It's a lot of time, man.
You ever hear like a song? You know, people love your songs with Ghost. Obviously, people love the Wu-Tang stuff. People love the collaborations you did with Nas and all that. But you ever hear like a down south joint or like a West Coast track or like, you know, something that blew up back in the day, and you're like, damn, man, we should have a Ray verse on that.
Hell yeah, it was a lot of those type of joints. You know what I mean? Like
we get like 2 of them before we get out of here.
You know, I would have loved to get on some shit with Dre when he was, you know, when the NWA vibe was popping off, you know. And you know, definitely when I sit here and I think about the Big Daddy Kane and Rakim times, you know what I mean? I would have loved to, you know, get in anywhere I could get in on those type of tracks. But yeah, man, you know, those are the times, B.
Man, respect. Please tell everybody when the book drops and where they can get it.
Yeah, yo, check it out, y'all. Staircase to Stage, the Chef book. It dropped November 30th on all platforms, Amazon, all of the good spots, Barnes and Nobles. Everybody go pick up. You know what I mean? It's a good read. And the chef spoke his piece. He spoke his mind to y'all. It's a very interesting book. You know, like the brother said, it's movie material. So you might want to check it out.
Absolutely. Thank you, man. You guys have a blessed one.
All right. Also, too, you know, we got a wine out as well, you know what I mean, called Licata. So I want everybody to go out there and go support me, you know what I mean? You know, an artist that's still, you know, doing what he do. I got a wine out. Shout out my team, Hastoria, which is a cannabis brand that I'm also an owner of. And, you know, and also be on the lookout for the documentary that's coming called The Purple Tape Files. You know, we've been working on that for a minute, so it's almost there. Y'all got a lot of stuff coming from the chef's cookbook, so
hey, man, keep it coming, man. Licata's just the flyest bottle on the shelf, man. So
thank you, man.
Tap in with peace, man. Love. Thank you.